Hello everyone, welcome to my channel Even the Scales, and thank you all for joining me today. I hope you're all doing well. Today on my channel I'm going to talk about, just excuse the noise, I just had a trail bike go blazing past my house because this is what they do when I try and make these videos. I've also got the neighbour downstairs that's decided to go out in the yard and start making noise as well. So that's okay, I'll get through it. I always do. So today I'm going to talk a little bit more about the 5 weeks that I spent in hospital in my town, and I'm also going to talk about what's been going on overnight and throughout today as far as the MK Ultra mind control attacks that my community are carrying out on me right now. I have no choice but to make these videos and speak up for myself, just to protect myself. The police in my town won't protect me at all. They're actually one of the main perpetrators of the abuse that's been carried out on me. And that's why I've created this channel, pretty much to create awareness of that. I also hope in the future to branch out on this channel to create more awareness of narcissistic abuse, and I also want to bring my channel messages as well to the channel in the future. But right now I'm just concentrating on what's been going on, particularly throughout this year, and what my community have been doing to me. So before I begin today, I would like to acknowledge the Dharawal people, who are the true custodians of the land that I bring these messages to you on today. I'd also like to pay respect to elders past and present, and I also extend my respect to all Torres Strait Islander and Aboriginal people who are watching today. So it all started at 3 a.m. this morning. Once again, the noise. They listen for when I wake up in the morning, and straight away the noise on the bypass, which is not far from here, picks up. And there was a lot of noisy trucks passing through, noisy cars, and the police as well were also on and off their siren all morning, and they have been all day as well throughout today. The police are trying to create an illusion right now to the public because they are very embarrassed about what has been going on and what's been coming out about them. And this is why they're doing it. They're trying to create an illusion. They're trying to prove to everyone that they're still in control, but they have definitely been caught for what they've been doing, and they will be held accountable for what they've been doing. So yeah, and as usual, the neighbours as well, especially this one neighbour that I spoke about yesterday that just stalks me from the time this person wakes up in the morning. This person does nothing else with their day whatsoever but try and think of ways to abuse me. It's all they do with their life. I swear this person has no other life whatsoever. They're totally obsessed. And that's what they're doing right now. So you can probably hear it. Hopefully the video is picking it up because it's just extra evidence. Okay, so yeah, there's a lot of noise pollution being created, and I looked up on a website this morning, the New South Wales Environment Protection Agency, which is EPA, and on there you can find a guide for the local government, because it's the local council that's actually responsible for the noise control in the town, as well as the environment as far as air pollution goes. And I looked up on there this morning, and there's like so many violations right now that the council are not enforcing. I'll just read them out to you what they are. One of them is the noisy motor vehicles that are being used right now. Like, they're supposed to be controlling that. There's also off-road vehicles being used as well, with the trail bikes that are just riding around everywhere in the area, off-road as well. Then there's the gardening equipment and the power tools. And there's also residential construction going on in the area as well, which is really, really noisy. And Like I know with construction, you are meant to experience a certain amount of noise with that, but the noise level has just been really ridiculous with it. So the police are also responsible for some of this noise as well. And that's just an absolute joke because, as I said, they are one of the main perpetrators of the noise and um, as well as the vehicles that are being sent up my street, around the area, everywhere. The police are probably instigating that to happen as well. So, yeah, I think the local council really needs to have a look at what's going on here. I don't think that they realise the large impact that this was going to have on people and the environment when they started doing it. Well, they shouldn't have been doing it in the first place anyway, to an innocent person. Um, so yeah, they're pretty much they're trying to get a reaction out of me by using the things that I stand for, the things that I do get like angry about, which is I care about the welfare of children, I care about the welfare of animals, and I also care about the environment and the damage that's been caused to it. So these are the things that they're doing on purpose to try and get a reaction out of me. They don't care about the children, they don't care about the animals, they don't care about the environment at all. It's all just to try and get a reaction out of me. And, these are leaders in the community that are carrying this out. So the other day I went to the shop, and one of the things they've been doing is underneath the car park, the enclosed car park, they've actually been having people sit in their cars and start their motors up, like just to create exhaust fumes underneath the car park there. So that's just so pointless and ridiculous, but this is the kind of thing that they're doing. They're also, as far as with the animals, the cruelty to animals thing, I've witnessed someone actually being cruel to an animal around here a few months back, all just to try and get a reaction out of me. And then this morning, because I spoke about it on my channel yesterday, about how in the hospital they'd been making a noise as if an animal was being hurt, this joker around here thought that it'd be, just a great laugh to make their animal yelp this morning. So someone has actually been doing that, which is just so beyond disgusting to me. I don't know if they were actually hurting the animal or if they were tormenting it or what, but the animal was yelping. And I've heard this a number of times, and it's been done just to try and get a reaction out of me. So this is why I'm making these videos, so that I can create awareness of what's going on. It's also an outlet for me to speak about these things as well, because as I said, I can't get any help from any of the authorities at all, because they're all in on it. And yeah, so that's what they're doing. Also, I've had a certain tradesman in the area continues to put advertisements in my letterbox, the magnet type ones that you put on the fridge. This is like the fourth, I had some put in my letterbox today. This is like the fourth or fifth time this year that this tradesman has done this. I've kept a couple of the magnets so that I have their name and everything, so that when the truth all comes out about this, that I can report them. But they're doing it just because they know that I recycle as much as I can, and these magnets are just creating rubbish that's very hard to get rid of. You're not really supposed to put them in your normal bin. They're meant to be taken to a special place to be disposed of. So that's why this idiot is doing it. Like, yeah, these things are just so pointless, and all it's doing is creating more and more evidence on the culprits. So, yeah, that's what a certain tradesman has been doing. Then they're also sending me surveys as well, like New South Wales Transport, for instance, sending me surveys because they're involved in the noise pollution, creating all the noise and the pollution and everything with the traffic, trains and planes, etc. And they're sending me like surveys from the organisations that have been involved in this just to try and get a negative reaction out of me. But once again, it's just all evidence of the psychological abuse that they've been trying to put upon me. So, yeah, I'm going to talk a little bit more about the hospital today and what happened when I was in there, because there was a number of other things that I remembered. And one of the things was when I actually called the organisation that I wanted the help from on the day when they phoned the ambulance, and I didn't want them to send the ambulance. You know, I actually called that organisation back and said, like, please don't send that ambulance. I don't need it, which I didn't. And they, for some reason, thought that it was a big enough emergency to call an ambulance against my wishes. Well, then the ambulance turned up. Like the ambulance didn't turn up for 40 minutes, half an hour to 40 minutes. And when it turned up, it had no siren on. So if that organisation thought that it was such an emergency to call that ambulance, why didn't the ambulance have its siren on? And why didn't it get here quicker than within 40 minutes? Obviously, yeah, they perhaps wanted me to take my life before it arrived or whatever. But as I said, that wasn't even something that I was thinking of doing, or it wasn't even talked about or anything on the phone. So, yeah, that was just like a complete contradiction. So there's that. And then when I was admitted to the hospital, like I was seeing a psychiatrist in there, and this psychiatrist insisted that I start on a certain drug because she was, yeah, insisting that when I come in that I was going through a psychotic episode and that I was delusional. And I knew that I wasn't, but um, it was just pointless for me to try and explain anything like that to them because they were just, they had their plan of what they were going to do, and it didn't matter what I said at all. And she was insisting that I start on this drug. And anyway, this drug had a lot of side effects, and I was really against taking it. And some of the side effects were that it can actually cause Tourette's in a person, which is like when a person can't control their actions and the things that they say and that. So it was like they wanted me to take it so that I would start doing stuff like that. It could also cause tremors like Parkinson's disease. They wanted to try and prove that I couldn't look after myself or they wanted me to pass away, one or the other, whatever come first. That's what they were trying to make happen. So, of course, if I'm having Tourette's outbursts and I'm having tremors and things like that, well, that's what they wanted to happen. It could also have cardiovascular effects, and at the time I was having a really fast heartbeat after I was admitted to the hospital, so I definitely didn't want to take any drug that was going to do anything to alter my heart or anything like that. And there was also a number of other contradictions, like it could have interacted with my other medications and things like that. So I was totally against wanting to take it. And it could also cause me to have a fall as well. And that was another thing they were hoping that would happen, that I would have a fall and, break a bone or something like that and be unable to take care of myself. So I talked about the abusive male nurse yesterday, the really abusive one. And this abusive male nurse come into my room one morning and told me that I had to have the medication and I didn't want to have it. And he started yelling at me and he was really aggressive and forceful and told me that, I pretty much had to have it. Otherwise, I was just going to be in there longer, or like he was trying to say that like I wasn't trying to help myself because I wasn't willing to have this drug to help myself and that. So I ended up taking it because if it was going to get me out of that place quicker, like I thought I'll just take it while I'm in here, and then when I go home, I'll just go off it straight away, which is exactly what I did. So there was that. And then when I was in there, I read through the rights, like the rights and responsibilities of on the Mental Health Act itself of a involuntary mental health patient, and every single right that was on there was actually violated. Every right that I had on that was violated. I felt very unsafe in there, and my personal needs were definitely not being met while I was in there. They're only supposed to keep people in there for up to 3 days as a involuntary mental health patient. I was in there for 5 weeks, and I was supposed to be seeing a doctor every 24 hours, and that definitely didn't happen. Sometimes it was like over a week between seeing doctors, and it was supposed to be every 24 hours. And when I'd question that, they would just say that, oh, look, it's a really busy public hospital, you've just got to wait. And, that's just not good enough because that's not what's a part of the rights of a mental health patient. Um, so, yeah, and then like I was entitled to legal aid, and I was having a review done on the second week to see if I could go home or if I had to stay longer. So I was entitled to legal aid, and I phoned them, and I got a representative from there that was going to come out and help me on the day of my hearing because you have to actually sit before a judge and everything. So, but the thing was, like, she wasn't much help at all. Like, she didn't arrive until just before the hearing started. So I had no time to tell her anything about all of my rights that had been violated, on the 2 weeks leading up to that point. And then when I actually got into the hearing before the judge, I was definitely not given a fair hearing at all. I was just like, yeah, their opinions were just overriding mine. And I didn't have much say at all. So, yeah, I was told that I had to stay there for up to another month, which was just like absolutely devastating because I shouldn't have been there in the first place. So there was that. And yeah, the social workers weren't much help as well. They weren't much help at all. So they would just make excuses for things and why things couldn't happen and why they couldn't help me because I had no family to help me get things from home or anything like that. And the social workers were not helpful at all either in that way. So it was like if something had happened to me in that hospital, it would have been like it wouldn't have been questioned much at all because no one would have really known the real story of what was going on. And obviously my family had deserted me. So, yeah, if anything, I just thank God every day that I got out. It was a miracle that I got out of that place. So, yeah, the doctors were very vague when I was in there, and they would avoid seeing me as much as possible. They would like really prolong the time in between visits as much as they could. And if it was my day to see one of the doctors, they'd make me wait until last so that, just to try and make me have a reaction, a negative emotional reaction about that. But I didn't. I kept my cool throughout the whole thing. And then there was a blood test that I had done. I had several blood tests done while I was in there, and I really wanted to see the results of those. And they were just trying to avoid giving me the results. Like I think I must have asked them about 10 times. I wanted to see proof of those blood tests and I wanted to see what the results said. Eventually, they did get me a sheet of paper with a printout of what was supposed to be my blood test. I don't believe it was my blood test. This piece of paper didn't even have my name on it. It didn't have my date of birth. It didn't have anything like that, like a normal blood test result would. It was just a sheet of paper with some figures on it, but it didn't even have my name on it. So I still have that right now. So I don't believe that was my blood test at all. I believe that the results were being hidden from me. Also, the pathologist in there that gave me the blood test, this woman done her best to hurt me as much as possible when she gave me the needles. I had one in each arm, and this woman like really jabbed those needles in, and I've never had bruises like that ever before on my arms from needles, and that was done on purpose, definitely. Then, I remembered a little bit more about the other patients. The other patients, like they'd come and go. Some of them would only be there for 1 day. Some of them would be there for 2, 3 days. Some of them would be there for a couple of weeks. But they'd come and go, and faces would change all the time. And at one point, I think what they were doing was actually getting homeless people off the street and bringing them in, like offering them a bed and a meal for the night to take part in what they were doing. And of course, if you're homeless and you want a bed and a meal for the night, you're going to say yes. So I think that's what they were doing as well. They were using homeless people to pose as patients. Yeah, they'd also plan activities and that, like just for everyone to, socialise and take part in. And the activities that they would plan would be things to try and trigger my childhood trauma, put it that way. So they were deliberately trying to do that. As I said, they researched everything about me, so they had it all planned out. Yeah, then towards the end of my stay, I was starting to get like just really distressed, as you can imagine what they were putting me through at the time. And I was finding that I was having a lot of anxiety and a lot of restlessness. So I went and asked them if I could have something to help me with that. And one of the male nurses there said to me, like, you could just tell the way that he said it. Like, he said, yeah, I've got just the thing for you. Like, I think you'll really like it. Like, and that to me is like just really inappropriate to talk about like a medicine, like you really like it. And, but those were the exact words he used. And they did not tell me that how addictive that drug actually was. I had no idea when they first gave it to me. And I had it for about 4 or 5 days before I went home. And then when they sent me home without this drug. And I went all right for the first day, but by the second day, like this is how addictive this drug was. I hadn't been on it long, only about 5 days, 6 days max, I reckon. And by the time, yeah, the second day come around that I'd been home from the hospital, I was just a mess. I just couldn't function properly at all. I was so restless and I just didn't know what to do because I had no help when I come home from the hospital from anyone, any of my family or anything like that. So I called the mental health on the number that they gave me. They told me to ring that number if I needed any help, and I spoke to them about it, and they said, well, all you can really do if you haven't got anyone to help you with that, like you're going to have to call an ambulance to take you back up the hospital. So I called my doctor. They advised me to call my doctor and get a prescription for this medication. And then I did that. And then, of course, I had no one to take me to get the medication. And there was no way on earth that I could have driven a car just with how restless I felt and how terrible I felt. And I started ringing around all the pharmacies to see if anyone would deliver it, and no one would deliver it. So I did not have a choice but to call an ambulance, and I just knew like I just couldn't get through another few hours the way I was feeling. So I called an ambulance. Anyway, this ambulance turned up, and once again the ambulance drivers were very strange. Very strange indeed. You could tell that they were in on the mind control, and they were trying, like straight away they made out like, I shouldn't have called them for this reason. And I told them that the mental health department had told me to call them. And they made me call all my family in front of them, like I told them that my family wouldn't help me. And they made me go through all my family and call them in front of them to make sure that my family wouldn't help me. And then they ended up taking me to the hospital. But these two ambulance drivers actually, I realised after, when I come back home again, they'd left an item in my home. And they'd left that item in my home to try and to incriminate me. So that when I threw that item in my bin, my garbage has been going through, people have been going through my garbage for probably the last 2 years or so, the justice system. And they put that item in my home so that when I threw it out, it would incriminate me. I'm not going to say what that item was because it was absolutely sick what these two officers did. Like, I can't imagine people having the sick mind that these two ambulance officers did by doing that, but they did do this. And anyway, they took me to hospital. On the way in the ambulance, they were playing music to try and psychologically abuse me, a certain song as well. I'm very psychic, so I pick up on all these little details. Then when I got to the hospital, they made me wait in the crowded waiting room, which, is, I don't think you should have to do that when you catch an ambulance to the hospital. But they made me do that, and it was really overcrowded in there. And then a nurse come and see me, and this nurse was so strange, very strange individual. And she took me to a room where she tried to manipulate me into saying that I wanted to take my life. Like that's all she was doing. She was trying to manipulate me to say that. There was no way I was anywhere near thinking that. I just wanted this prescription so that I could go home. So she ended up giving it to me, but she was very strange, her behaviour. And then I was supposed to wait around to see another doctor. And once I got that prescription, I just left the hospital. I just thought, I'm getting out of here, I'm going home. And I had to catch a cab home, of course. And of course, the cab companies are in on all this as well. So they've all been informed to take part in this MK Ultra mind control. So the cab driver was in on it as well. I had to get the cab driver to stop at the pharmacy on the way home so I could get the prescription. And then, yeah, I come home and I was fine after I took that tablet, but I had to get myself off that tablet, and I did somehow. I don't know how I got myself off that medication because it's highly addictive. Somehow I got through it though, but there was no way I could get through it when I first got out of that hospital. But after I'd been home for a couple of weeks, I was able to get myself off it. So that was good. But then also, when I come home from the hospital, someone had been in my house while I had been in the hospital, and they had removed a part from my washing machine so that my washing machine wasn't working when I come home. So I had all this washing that I had to do from the hospital, and I couldn't use my washing machine, no help. So, and while all this is going on, mind you, my community all around me is also trying to disturb my peace in any way possible. So I've got all that going on as well. Then I had to call up and buy a new washing machine. So I called a certain place, and when I called them, they played mind games and tried to create as many obstacles for me as they could to me getting a washing machine. Eventually I had a washing machine delivered about a week later. The washing machine had to go back because it was faulty and it was also damaged. Delivery drivers were also involved. They also had their mind games that they played, and Then I had to ring another place to get another wash machine. I called another place. They also played mind games. They also created obstacles. Then the delivery drivers were in on it as well. They created problems. So all that after I got out of the hospital, and it just hasn't stopped since. Every organisation that I deal with is the same, tries to create as many obstacles and challenges for me as possible, including Australia Post. So I think I've wrote down about probably over 100 businesses that have been involved in this. So, and I'm still adding to it like all the time. So, yeah, cab drivers have been involved in it. All the cab drivers. When there's been circumstances where I've needed a cab, especially when I first got out of hospital because I didn't feel well enough to drive. So, is there anything else I want to talk about? So I think I'll leave it there on this video. On the next video though, I'm probably going to talk a bit more about the hospital, because in between the time that I got out of the hospital, the mental health part, and now I had to go and have a day procedure done. And I had to go and have this procedure done without any support whatsoever. Because I had no one to pick me up from the hospital after the procedure had been done, I had to stay there the night, which wasn't really the normal thing that was done. Normally people can go home, but because I didn't have my family, wouldn't help me or anything. I had to catch a cab to the hospital to have the procedure done and a cab home. And it was the same story when I was in the hospital for that overnight stay. Like, there was a lot of mind games and abuse that was carried out on me. And I had no choice but to go in and have that procedure done. It was very much delayed as it was, and that was delayed on purpose. And then, like, when I had to go and have it done, like, it was just like I had to hope for the best. Like, I didn't know if I was going to come out of there alive. I mean, I had to go under anaesthetic. I didn't know if they were going to give me, an overdose of anaesthetic and maybe I wouldn't wake up or what. So it took a lot of courage to go in and go through that. It really did. But I got through it and somehow I come out of it all right. So I'm probably going to talk a little bit more about that on the next video, and yeah, some of the other experiences that have happened throughout this year. So I want to thank those of you who have listened to the whole video, and I'll talk to you on the next one. Okay, bye for now, and God bless.